Hey there, Josh here and welcome to a short hobbyist novitiate video. This time we're doing Painting Imperialis, where we paint up a GIMP model in the colours of one of the 18 legions or their solar counterparts. We're aiming for these videos to be beginner friendly, but hopefully introduce a few intermediate techniques along the way, especially in this video. In this video I'm going to be looking at the 18th Legion, the Salamanders, so grab a hot drink and a biscuit and let's dig in. When I started this scheme, it's one of the few that I really didn't have any idea how I was going to do it, and it definitely shows. I've started with the Chaos Black Prime as always, and I'm just picking out a few greens from the collection and having a look at how they're going to look on the model next to each other. Look at that. And I sort of had a few ideas and I wanted to try some stuff, so I definitely make some mistakes along the way, and I'll point those out because I think it's quite helpful to learn from my mistakes. I start off with a nice coat of Caliban green across all of the hull of the vehicle. This is not going to show up a huge amount in the final scheme, but I think it helps to give a good feel of that dark sort of jade green, especially in the shadow areas. So yeah, just a nice thin coat over everything. After that I'm coming in with a Drybrush of Corax white. You can see here immediately I realise I've made a mistake, and that's that I haven't left it quite long enough to dry. And so I'm just smearing green paint all over the place, and it's a bit of a disaster, but I powered on through. I probably should have just gone back, left it, done a new coat of Caliban green, and then started again with the dry brushing, but for whatever reason, on the day I did not. The idea was to leave Caliban green in the recesses and have that sort of lighter white over everything else. After that I come in with white scar, and this is just a really focused light dry brush, just picking out the edges, all of the highest points and the bright spots that I want to be lighter than the rest of the vehicle. Just making sure we've got that nice contrast across the model between the light and dark spots. Nothing fancy. After that I am coming in with Militarum green. This is going to go over everything and just tint those shadows and then cover nicely over the white spots, giving it a more sort of unified green feel. This is a thin-ish coat, and I'm just making sure I'm getting a good layer over everything. Nothing too fancy. As with always with contrast paints, you just want to make sure you're not letting it pull too much in any one area, or you'll end up with a sort of streaky finish. But it has a long working time, so just keep moving it around, keep getting it out of those cracks, and you'll be fine. So I'm quite happy with how it's looking at this point, but it's quite a dark green. So I'm at this point sort of thinking, how am I going to save it? But before I come to look at that, I start working on the metallics, which is probably the wrong order to be doing things. I chose the Gehenna's gold there in the end after thinking a little bit about the two. It's just a nice bright warm gold. It's a lovely colour, and it offsets really nicely against the green. So I'm putting this onto the exhausts here and on the weapons as well, but I'm leaving the tracks and the ram on the front to do a different colour. I was pretty locked in on the rhino shape by this point. You can see I'm very precise with my brushwork on those exhausts. Good job me. That's about the only thing I succeeded at in this video. Here we go, onto the weapons. Getting a nice coat of gold across the gun bits, but leaving the top of the hatches in that green. They're quite small on these models, the weapons, and I think it helps to just know what you're painting. So yeah, here we go, coming in on the ram. The ram and the tracks are both going to be Leadbelcher this time. I like to have the silver and the gold on a model. I think it just sort of speaks to the utility of the different parts. You know, the exhausts and the weapons are a little bit more ceremonial compared to the ram and the tracks, which are more about getting around, slamming into things, and generally causing chaos. Not that the weapons don't. It's nice to have some visual difference as well. I think too much gold can end up looking a bit naff. So this is where things really kick up a notch. I've decided that the green is too dark and I want to bump up both the value and the hue. So I'm going to do a bit of an oil dot filter, which on a model this size is probably a waste of time. I think it could have just been an oil wash. And I'm using ABT502 Grass, which is a really nice oil paint. I love using it for moss and things like that on my 40k minis. Lovely colour. So you can see I'm just dotting it around all over the hull, and then now coming back in with just a damp brush with mineral spirits and smoothing it out, feathering it across the model, giving it a nice sort of coverage. It's nice doing it like this because you get some sort of streaks and some texture, and it just looks a bit interesting compared to just having a flat coat of the green. And you can see already that it is just adding that brightness to it, that sort of jade green. Salamanders are quite punchy with their green, and I think it looks really nice. If I were doing this again, I'd definitely do this stage, although I might do it as a wash rather than an oil dot filter. I don't think there's much point at this scale. Now I'm deciding that I didn't want to use the e-transfers. I wanted to do some freehanding of the flames on both the top and the sides of the vehicle. I really like the general idea of this, and I think I used all the right colours and everything. My mistake here that I made, this is probably one of my bigger mistakes, is that I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted the flame to look like when I first started. So you can sort of see here, I'm just sketching out random shapes and it's not quite working, and I keep trying to re-sketch it and it's still not quite working. I think I should have worked out what shape I wanted it to be first and then gone in with more deliberacy, more intention. It's not terrible, but it just looks a bit random. So we're starting off there with Khorne red and doing this across both the top and the sides. I sort of had a flame shape there that I was relatively happy with, but I wanted to make sure it was similar to the top, so I ended up adding these two extra little arms to the fire. Here you can see me doing it, and it didn't quite work. Didn't quite know what shape I was doing, and it just ended up, yeah, a bit random. After that I've come in with some Evil Sunz Scarlet, and I'm going inside the shape I've already created with the Khorne red, leaving a little bit of a margin, but just sort of filling in with that brighter red. And then doing the same again with Trollslayer orange, again a little bit smaller, picking out those shapes, really defining the fire. I think this gradient from dark red to light yellow is really nice. And speaking of yellow, here's the Yriel yellow step. Again, I'm happy with the colours I used. I think that's really nice. I just think the shape would have been better if I'd had more of a plan. You can get away with a lot of things, but I think when you're doing freehanding, you sort of need to know what you're going to be doing going in. Here I am picking out those viewports with Gehenna's gold. You could probably do this earlier, but I missed it, and so I just thought I'd come back in and do them because it does look a lot nicer. This is my biggest mistake. You see I zoomed in right there. I didn't notice that this was a water mixable oil paint, and I thought it was just a regular oil paint. So I mixed it down with some mineral spirits. You can see in the pot there, it doesn't look right, but I keep putting it on the model anyway. I don't doubt myself, don't question myself, I just press on ahead. The idea with this was just to give like a very thin recess wash to the entire model, just block out some of those depths and give it a little bit more contrast and interest. I do really love doing this and I love oil paints, but I think it's important to check what you're buying when you buy it. Now my final idea for these models was to have sort of black scorch marks along the bottom, like it's been charging through fire at half its life and it's just, you know, scorched and charred underneath. So I was coming back in with another coat of this lamp black, just picking out the bottom half of the rhino and then sort of feathering it up to the top. I think this would look really good if executed right, but I very much did not do that here, using the wrong paint, and it was also probably too diluted. And yeah, here's the final result. Almost no charring gradient to speak of, and it's kind of a really horrible, shiny, wet looking texture. I'm happy with the general idea of it, but I would love to take a second crack at this. I think I might actually redo it for another video down the line once we've done all the paint schemes. Maybe I'll come back to this one. I think I could just take it up from being something that looks a bit average to maybe something a little bit more special. So that's all for this one. I will see you next time.